Around Kellyanne.
Okay, good morning, everyone. We have had a few tech glitches this morning, which seems to be a common theme for us over the last couple weeks. So we are just pivoting again. This time we are just going live into Kim's Facebook group, and hopefully, I don't think we'll be able to see comments, but hopefully you can see us, and we'll have to look at the comments after that. So today we are excited if you're here joining us live. Today we are talking about something that many people believe that we are going to challenge today, and that is, does your past create your future? Good morning, Kim. How you doing?
Good morning, Kellyanne. We are good to go. We are streaming live on my Facebook page, so we are good to go. Happy to be here. And hey, friends, this is why we like to call this show Raw and Unscripted, because we got to flow. We got to flow with everything. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the conversation. I'm very honored, and I know you are too, to have a lot of people in our lives that are on their own self-discovery journeys, and they're on their own healing. They're on their own self-improvement path, whatever we want to call it. And, not everybody is able to, heck, even those of us that are doing the work, we can still get caught up in some of our past, right? And some of those stories from our past. But what we're here today to talk about is to really help us understand, how our past, I'm going to say straight out right from the top, how our past has helped us and has created us to be who we are. And it's here to move us forward. It's given us tools. And I don't want to go right into everything right off the top, but the narrative that we have, and I've seen it many times in conversations that I've had with clients, people coming into discovery calls, you can hear through their narration, and you can through their words, and you can also see it through their body language, the heaviness that they're carrying from their past, the shame that they're feeling, the disappointment in themselves, the blame that they're carrying, the frustration with themselves for their past choices, for the way they've lived. And, this is why we're here to talk about this, is because we've all got past, every single one of us. We've all got things that have happened to us, some of that were in our control and some that were not in our control. But what we want to do today, because we never know who's listening to this call, and so we really try to do our best to be aware of that and the sensitivity around things that have happened to us in our past, but to help us all recognize that what we have today, like what we have right now, what you have right now listening, is this moment. We're never going to have this moment repeated again. And our goal in our own lives, and we hope to instill in you and inspire you, is to recognize that your future's not written yet. And that's what this entire show is going to be about today. So if you are here with us live, please say hello in the chat. Again, I can look down at my phone and glance down every once in a while because we're on a different platform. But please say hi. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And again, we appreciate you being here.
I love all that, Kim. I think that, there are many, as you say, many things that have happened in our past, and some of them, I believe in taking responsibility for what I have created. There are definitely things outside my control that I cannot take responsibility for. But if we are to take responsibility for our lives, which I believe is the only way that we actually step into our power, then we have to look at our life now and say, okay, there are some things in my past that have brought me to where I am today. Some decisions I've made, some choices. And if I don't like where I am right now, then I get to choose to change it. So there may be lots of positive things from your past that you have brought to this moment in time. And as Kim said, I would say that everything in your past has made you the person that you are today. And there is a gift in it all, whether it be the joyous times or the most challenging times of your life. There is a gift in it all, and it has made you who you are today. And I believe the person you are today, the person who's right here with us right now, this is exactly who you are meant to be. This is exactly the time that you are meant to be here. And everything from this moment on is your choice. And once you start to accept that responsibility, that doesn't mean, again, that things outside of our control are not going to happen. But as we've talked about on our show before, that everything that happens on the outside, you get to choose how you react to it, how you respond to it. So all of that is within your choice. Some people might say that that's not, what about the people that have bad luck? What about the people that, and I'm being I'm trying to be very compassionate, because I understand, because Kim and I are women that have had things in our past happen that have made us the people that we are today, but that we have chosen to what's the word I'm looking for, to kind of look at the bird's eye view and to say, okay, this is where we were, these are the choices we made that have got us to where we are today, but we get to choose exactly where we go from here.
Yeah. And I agree with all of that. I want to also add, I just want to speak to a little bit of our privilege at this moment too, and recognizing that not everybody has the same support around them too. So whoever you are that's listening right now, I guess things we have to, how am I wanting to articulate this? We have to be able to know that the smallest, and I'm going to put that in quotations, the smallest steps that you can take, the little thing that you can do each day, wherever you can find yourself in that energy to help you start this path is enough, right? Like, I think sometimes we can look at our situation and we can go like, I don't even know where to start, because you know what we're really good at as humans? We're really good at collecting and bringing awareness to all the things that are horrible about us and all the bad choices. Like, that's how our mind looks at things. And that can feel a lot of heaviness. And so depending on who's listening right now, they could be carrying, oh my goodness, we have like suitcases of baggage of what we're carrying. But what we want you to realize is that you can start today to start to bring awareness to what is in your control. What are the things that you can start to do differently? How can you start to take responsibility for your own life? Because you know why we say this is because each and every one of us that's listening right now, each and every one of you that's listening right now, you have so much potential in your life. And Kellyanne and I come from the background that everything, and I was at an event last night and this came up on the stage as well there, that I would like to say that everything that's happened to you in your life that has got you where you are today, difficult, the challenge, the really tragic things, the choices that you've made, they have given you wisdom. They have given you tools. They have helped. Like, think about the times that you had to get yourself through the most challenging day, the day that you couldn't get yourself off of the ground, but you're still here. The person that you are has collected so much wisdom. So I come from the fact that you can take this and potentially support another person. Like, that's where we come from, this angle. So I look at that from that angle. I hope I'm articulating this right, but I really want us to recognize that you have the ability today to start to shift your life in the direction. You know, all you have to do is start to change your GPS just a little bit, change the compass just a little bit, redirect it. I have two choices. I could literally say this. I have two choices. One of my choices is to do this the way I always behave. Sorry, I'm raising my voice and I don't want to be. I could be doing things the way I always do them. This is comfortable. This is familiar. I know I can just stay this, or I can choose to do this path that's a little bit more uncertain. There is more chance in it. There's more discomfort in it. But what happens if you take that path and it opens up a new door for you? That's what we're here to talk about today, is to say, you know what? The way I've been living my life isn't working for me anymore. That's really what this conversation's about.
Exactly. And the story that we tell ourselves about our past matters. I mean, for years and years, the story that I told myself was that I was a victim, So I looked back on something that happened in my childhood, and that became my story. So that past, that shame, that came to define the person that I was. And you get to choose what your story means to you. So if you choose to stay a victim, then that's how you're going to look at your past. You will always be a victim. And I believe that we all have to make decisions in our life. As you said, Kim, you can choose how you want to look at it. And it's easy to say, yeah, but you don't know my story.
Mhm.
You don't know where I've been. And with all the love in the world, you're right. I don't know what other people have been through, and nobody knows what anybody has been through. But that doesn't mean that that has to define you.
Totally.
You get to make that choice. And as soon as you step into that power to make that choice, that's when your life changes.
Mhm.
Because the thinking that has got you to this point in your life, if there are things that you're not happy with, okay, so if there are areas of your life where you say, I wish this was different, I believe from the work that I do that your past thinking has got you to this point. So if you are not feeling good about you, it's your past thinking that has got you there.
Mhm.
So if you want to feel differently, if you want to think differently, if you want to do differently in the future, then that thinking, that feeling has to start today. But we put it off because, as you said, Kim, our mind loves that comfort zone. Our mind, even if we're not happy with where we are today, if we're not happy with our circumstances, whatever it is, it's comfortable.
Mhm.
And as soon as we start to look at changing anything in our life, that requires our energy. And our mind doesn't want to have to use energy. So it really is so much of a conscious choice. Like, we've talked about how all of these beliefs and these thoughts live in our subconscious mind, and they are what control our behavior. You have to bring that decision into your conscious mind. And it has to be something, it's not an easy fix. It's not something that you can say, yeah, I'm going to be done with my past and I'm going to move on from today. It's not. There are things that we have to heal in our past. Again, that's a decision that you get to choose to make. If you're not sure how to heal from it, then ask for help. There are lots of ways to ask for help to heal from those things. If you want to change, if you're living in regret, or if you're living in shame, the first step for that is forgiveness of yourself. And I think so much of moving on from our past is really being able to forgive ourselves for the things that we're not proud of, the things that we didn't like about what we've done in our past. And we all have those things. My gosh, we have so many things we can look back on and say, and as you said, Kim, those are the things that stick out in our mind. I wasn't very, my gosh, if I had just parented my child differently, they might have turned out, they might not have had this hang up that they have if I had just done this differently. And you can live in that regret and live in the past, but it will never create the future that you want to create.
Yeah. I also think what's really important to add to that too is to be able to, sometimes we a lot of our past and we can be regretful and be judgmental of the way that we handled it, the way we responded to it. But a part of this forgiveness piece that's coming up for me right now is to be able to actually honor the fact that it was a really difficult time. It was a difficult time and that you didn't know what to do and you might not have handled it in the ways that you wanted to, but you did the best you could at that time. That's this forgiveness piece. This is, people want to just move forward, move forward. But there's a huge part of our healing that has to happen by being able to say, you know what, I made a mistake. Well, welcome to being a human, right? We are human beings. We're going to make choices. We're going to make mistakes. Things are not always going to happen the way we want them to. But we learn. This is, to me, this is the biggest lesson, is to be able to learn from our past. We learn from the things that we're not proud of. We learn from the things that we messed up in. And we go, okay, where's my responsibility? How could I have handled this differently? And then to be able to try again. You know, if I think to our present moments, it's like, even today, if I say something that wasn't said in the most kindest of ways, or maybe it was misinterpreted, I still, like, I'm not responsible for somebody else's feelings, but I can also say, you know what, it's not how this was intended, or I might have said this in a different way. I could have said it in a different way. Be okay with doing that. This is how we're always learning, right? Like, to be able to have these relationships with people, because we've all got our past. It's complex, right? But that's how we take our lives into our own hands. I want to just shift for a second. I feel like this could be a part of this conversation, because we've talked a lot about our past. We've talked a lot about how we might not be proud of our past. And now we're here in our present and we're going, you know what? I'm not liking how this life of mine is turning out. You know, I think we feel this way as we get older. We get older and we see ourselves as having less life in front of us than we had behind us, right? So we start to shift and change our thinking, right? Really start to think about, like, what is it about you that is important? Like, what are your core values? What are the things that you want to be? Like, what kind of person do you want to be? Maybe that's how I should just say it. What kind of person do you want to be? What kind of mother do you want to be? Friend, sister, etc. Who do you want to be? That's a fantastic place to just sort of stop and reflect on your life. So this isn't about judging yourself. This is about going, okay, here's my past. This is what's happened. Okay, take some responsibility for it so that we're not always pointing our fingers at everybody else. And then, you know, take that time with yourself and reflect, because life is moving. It's moving forward, right?
Exactly. And just, I wanted to mention one of the things that I did that I found really helpful when I made a decision that I wasn't going to let my past define me the way it had. When I made that decision, what I did is this might be helpful for somebody. I actually wrote down, I did a timeline, and I included the things in my life that were big regrets of mine, or things where I knew they were still having a huge impact on me. And I then pulled the lessons from them. Mm-hmm. So I looked at those things and I said, okay, what have I learned from this experience? What has this taught me? And and celebrate that, okay, if I hadn't gone through that, I don't think I would have learned that lesson. So I think it's important, really, for us. It's kind of that zooming out on our life and looking at it from the big picture, and being aware of the places in our life where what we would maybe call messed up, or where we haven't done the things that we wanted to do, or said the things we wanted to do, or been the person that we wanted to be. Forgive that in ourselves, as you talked about. Be kind to yourself about it, but also really pull the lessons, so you can actually look at things and say, I believe that the universe is always happening for you. And when you believe that, you can look at those things that have happened in the past and you can say, that was meant for me. That was actually, even though I would never wish it on anybody else, I can see what that has created in my life. And I can see why I have grown from that. And I think we don't celebrate our growth enough. We forget who we were, whatever it was, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And yeah, we were doing the best we could at that time, because that's what we knew. But look at the places where you've grown and say, okay, so now I've grown. Whether it's resilience, whether it's courage, whatever it is that you've taken from some of those challenging times in your life, and build on those things instead of focusing on the things that, the areas of our life that we're not happy with, the characteristics of ourselves that we don't like. Let's focus on the things, as you said, who do you want to be? And how can you start to make small decisions, as you mentioned, make small decisions every day. If I want to be more generous because I feel like I haven't in the past and I don't want to be that kind of person, I want to be a generous person. How would a generous person act? Looking at those choices and those decisions that come up for you and say, if this is who I want to be, how does this kind of person act? And it's acting as if you are that person. That's how we change our future.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I love everything. And I think, again, because it is in our nature, just a quick little reminder that we have been forming pathways in our brain, in our mind for a long, long time on the way we respond and react to things. Okay. So when you're wanting to start to, when that time comes that you're wanting to start to respond differently, behave differently, you have to be able to create sometimes pause for yourself or space, because it might be in your nature to just react the way you normally do, right? It's like, these are the normal things. When this happens, when I have this thought, this creates this feeling that creates this behavior, right? It's very quick and automatic for us, right? So the work here is to practice that space and to give yourself that and to say, and sometimes it's just a matter of going, even talk to yourself, like you're allowed to give yourself space before you respond to an email, before you pick up the phone. You don't have to pick up every phone call. Like, give yourself space so that you can start to behave differently. And I want to just say, do the work. Like, if you normally react sometimes to a certain person, there's a certain person in your life who activates you, who triggers you, and that, and you're on this path of choosing to be more responsible for the ways that you behave, you then are going to have to tell yourself to give yourself that space to be able to go, well, how do I want to do this? How do I want to respond? What do I want to say? To align yourself with the person that you want to be. And that takes practice. Again, like, it's not something that happens overnight for us, but I want to say it's our, what's the word I'm looking for? My brain's not working very well this morning.
It's mine.
We both have lots in our minds. We're doing the best, Unscripted. But it's like you have to be able to give yourself the space to ask yourself what it is that you want to do moving, like, in that moment. How could I be, how would I normally do this? How could I do it differently? It's trial and error. It's not going to feel comfortable.
Exactly.
But
and I
yeah,
think,
go ahead.
oh, sorry. I think that many of us have a belief, as I think I started with, have a belief that our past does determine our future.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the belief you have, then I invite you to work on changing that belief. Because with that belief, you will never change your future. Sorry to tell you that, but you will never change it. So I would invite you to get really curious about this. Is that my belief? Because if it is, then you need to change that, work at changing that belief. And, that can start with an affirmation that, says, I create my reality, or I create my future by the choices that I make, or, that's how we change beliefs. And if that belief, which is probably, if that's the belief you have, it has been running through your brain, your mind for decades. So it is very much implanted in your subconscious mind, and you are acting from that belief, from that place. If you want to change that belief, it can be changed. I'm working on having a belief that beliefs can be changed really quickly. That's what I'm working on for myself. I think they can be in some cases. But the truth really is your past has nothing to do with your future. Absolutely nothing. No matter what has happened in your past, no matter who you were in your past, today you get to make new choices. And every day moving forward, each day you get to do that. So if you make a choice that my future is going to be different, whether that's my future is I'm going to be in a happy marriage, if it's my future is going to be that I'm no longer going to live in lack where money is concerned, if your future is going to be I'm going to have a successful career, whatever that future is that you desire, you can absolutely have it. It requires work, and it requires changing some of those beliefs.
And it requires patience and time, because we don't get to decide when it's going to happen, right?
Exactly. And it also requires support.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are not many people I know in the world who are able to change beliefs or change, kind of do a 180 from where they're going in their life without support. Because we don't see our blind spots.
Yeah.
Our mind is always going to go back to that comfort zone. So I invite you, if you want to make those changes in your life, get support, whether that's a coach like Kim and I, or a therapist, if you feel you need that, or a really committed friend. But chances are you're not going to be able to do it on your own if you don't have any background in this kind of work.
Yeah, that's a really good point, right? Because if you're getting support from somebody who might have their own stories, right? And their own, right? Because then you're just taking somebody else. That's the thing we have to remember, is that whatever time we spend with someone, if you're taking them as somebody who you want to learn from, just know you're starting to adopt their belief systems, right? See,
exactly. I just heard that about, you are taking on their limiting beliefs.
Yes, exactly.
You ask a friend, should I start this business? Your friend might be saying, ooh, that's too risky. Well, you're taking on their limiting belief.
Totally.
So you have to be careful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone who has tuned in, thank you so much. We'll pop into the comments afterwards. Every single one of these episodes, we just like to take different types of topics or themes that are really lending to this. I think it really ultimately, the entire platform is about improving ourselves, right? It's really what the whole platform is about. And we thank you for being here for our lives. I know that Kellyanne has a busy weekend ahead of her.
Yes, my daughter's getting married this weekend. So yeah, my mind is, if I wasn't making a lot of sense today, I apologize. My mind
you were fine.
elsewhere today.
No. And you know what? That's the thing, right? We show up, and I'm kind of the same. I'm like, my mind's a little scattered today too, but my point is, I wanted to wish you and your family a wonderful weekend of celebrating the love. And I know it's a lot leading up to it. And everything everything's supposed to happen the way it's going to happen, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just trust that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank you for tuning in, everyone. Again, if you have questions, if you want to dive into this any further, you're welcome to reach out to Kellyanne or myself. Don't forget about our YouTube page as well, where we've got all of our past episodes. Most of them are found underneath the live tab. There's a couple on the main page, but lots of great content in there. So this is what we're saying. You might not be in the position to be able to take a next step forward with seeing a therapist or hiring a coach, but what can you do? This is about choices, right? So what can I do? My choices might be, I'm going to start to watch some videos. I'm going to watch some TED Talks. I'm going to learn. I'm going to read some books, right? It's I can either choose to watch a reality show for an hour, or I might choose to actually dive myself into some self-improvement. And that's really what we're talking about here. So thank you for tuning in today. Any last words, Kellyanne, before we say goodbye?
I don't think so. I just wish everybody has a great week, and we will see you back here next Tuesday.
Sounds good. Bye, everyone. Take care.